Matthew 11, verse 28 and 29a, Jesus gave this amazing invitation and command. He says, "Come to me, those who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you." You see, the time that Jesus spoke these words, we can relate to those people because the same people that were listening to these voices, they were heavily burdened. They were weighed down by the crushing weight of expectation to perform and religious demands that was given to them based not on God's righteousness but human righteousness. And it was a crushing blow to always feel like you're not good enough. And Jesus, in the midst of all that noise, in the midst of all those things, says, "Come to me, those who are tired and weary, and I will give you rest." And you see, Jesus was actually quoting a passage in Jeremiah 6, verse 16, which I think is super powerful. The Bible says, "Stand in the ways and see, and ask for the old path where the good way is, and walk in it. Then you'll find rest for your souls." God was still speaking the same message ever since way back before Jesus came, because he is still the same God. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the same promise still stands, but it is up to us to choose to come to him or not. Because sometimes the reason why we don't want to come to God is because when we come to God, then there has to be a change. And nobody likes change. Only babies like change. And God, however, in his mercy saying, "Come to me." You don't have to change to come to me, but when you come to me, you will change. And that, to me, is the best news that we can ever receive. And the power to change is not just with us, but it's on God. Our part is to submit ourselves to that process of change. And that's why he says, "Take my yoke upon you." Now, I know this is not something that we hear today, but Jesus spoke this in a very agricultural society. And so this idea of taking a yoke is very common. And as a matter of fact, it is used to plow fields. Now, I don't know if you know this, but usually what they used to do to plow fields is they would link up two oxen together, one senior and one junior. And the senior cow carries most of the weight. Why? Because he is the one that knows how to carry the weight. He is actually bodily frame-wise, he knows how to direct the weight proportionately so that the junior that is carrying the weight carries just enough to be able to learn from the senior cow what to do and what not to do. But however, most of the weight is carried by him. And when Jesus says, "Take my yoke upon you," he's saying, take the cross. Take my cross upon you. Do you know that when we take on the cross, we take on what Jesus did on it? We choose to say that Jesus already finished the work. And my part today is to walk in that. And my part today is to carry out what he's already finished on the cross. Do you know how powerful that is? That the work is already finished. Now, what you're learning to do, what I'm learning to do, is to walk in the finished work of Jesus Christ. Now, how do we do that? Today, I want to challenge you to begin to take Jesus' yoke upon you by learning to declare, take 10. Take a 10. And you need to learn to declare, "Lord, I have been forgiven. What you did on the cross, give me forgiveness. In the past, in the present, in the future, all of it. And not only that, God, that today I can live victoriously. And I'm going to take my yoke upon you." The way I obey, it's not from human obedience, but it is Jesus' obedience. I myself no longer live, but Christ lives in me. So I live my life by the faith of the Son of God. And this is the kind of faith that enables us to live as the new creation that God created us to be. So I want to encourage every single one of you, as we move forward, as we continue to live out today, this is the life of victory that God has promised.